Thank you, Chairman Mikowski, Ranking Member Udall. Chief Tidwell, good to see you again. I was very pleased to have Secretary Sonny Perdue, our new Ag Secretary, and again, it's Ag and Forestry Secretary out in Montana. We had a summit there Wednesday in Great Falls. He had huge attendance, and forest management reform was also an important part of that conversation because timber is a renewable resource. It is something. It's actually a crop. It just takes longer to grow it. But very pleased to have Sonny Perdue out. And we had a round table with some of our folks from the wood products industry. And once again, we're hearing just the dismal state that the industry is in. They're running single shift. We're down to just 8 now active mills in Montana. 30 when I was a kid growing up. Now down to 8. They're down to single shift, and the left would tell you that the reason it's single shift because there's no demand. That's absolutely false. The reason we're at single shift is we can't get enough logs, and we're bringing logs in from Canada, bringing logs in from hundreds of miles away from other states to try to keep our mills afloat right now. In fact, they told me, we had press there, I said, report the truth. The press heard that demand has never been stronger for our products, but we can't get logs to the mills. It's a sad, sad state of affairs, and it is because of these extreme environmental groups who are litigating many of our sales that we have right now in Montana, and then we aren't taking care of the forest, and then we see them burn. And we can reduce the wildfire risk, as we know, by actively managing our forests. I will tell you this, there's new optimism amongst the folks back in Montana. If they heard Secretary Perdue talk about how he's going to engage and work on policies going forward, it's the first time they've been optimistic in a long time. I was grateful to have Sonny out in Montana. I also want to echo your call for wildfire funding reform. It's crucial that Congress gets this done. I want to voice my concern with the budget proposed cuts that are to recreation and road development, the latter of which are important to carrying out forest projects. Both proposals are harmful to Montana's national forests and our way of life. Chief Tidwell, Senator Tester and I have introduced legislation to statutorily reverse the disastrous Ninth Circuit Court decision in the Cottonwood Environmental Law Center versus U.S. Forest Service. According to the Obama administration, this decision has the potential to cripple federal land management across Ninth Circuit states. Citing the Cottonwood decision, courts have already halted 4 forest health projects in Montana. Does the Forest Service support the bipartisan effort to statutorily reverse this decision?
Senator, first of all, thank you for your work, your bipartisan work with Senator Tester to introduce that legislation. And yes, we support that, and we need your help on this. It would be one thing if we just needed to reinitiate consultation. We'd be glad to be able to do that. Our folks are working through that now. But the way this court decision came down is it creates a continuous procedural loop, and so that we're never done. And so even when we do say the Links Amendment and we consult on that, it's not considered completed. So anytime there's new information, and there's constantly new information, it can even be like a master's thesis that's not even peer reviewed, that's new information. And that could create a need to reinitiate consultation. And so we want to consult, of course, and we want to do what we need to be able to provide for lynx habitat and work very closely with Fish and Wildlife Service, which we are. But this is just one of those cases, and I need to really stress that this goes way beyond lynx. It goes way beyond the state of Montana. 52% of our national forest system lands in the Ninth Circuit. We had a different ruling out of the 10th Circuit. So this is one where we need your help to be able to resolve this so that we can do our job to consult, take care of habitat, but at the same time be able to do the work.
Thank you, and I just will be pleading with our chair and my fellow senators to join Senator Tester and myself on this piece of legislation. It's bipartisan already. The Obama administration was with us on this. The Forest Service clearly has both feet planted to help us on this, and we need to get this done. There's a statutory remedy that will solve this specific problem with cottonwood, and we need to get this moved across the finish line here in the U.S. Senate. Thank you for your support. Chief Tidwell, I want to shift to secure rural schools. I'm a co-sponsor of legislation to reauthorize the SRS program. It remains critical to our timber counties in Montana. Just last week in these roundtables we had county commissioners from counties in Montana that have 90 to 92% of their acreage in their counties are federal lands. And so the SRS is critical there, of course, because the federal government doesn't pay taxes. I hear over and over again that we need to extend SRS. They want Congress to pass strong reforms additionally to restore active management to the national forests. They all rely now on PILT and SRS. They would much rather be seeing the revenues coming off of our national forests because we're actively managing them than having to depend on PILT and SRS. But having said that, it's the state of affairs that we live in today, and we need to reauthorize these programs. And we simply must address this litigation issue in Montana. It's a missed opportunity, and I hope we can bring together maybe an SRS long-term funding proposal in conjunction with long-term litigation reform, so we really start solving the problem and what creates SRS and PILT in the first place. The President's budget doesn't mention SRS. Does the administration support reauthorizing this program, and do you believe increasing pace and scale of management must be a priority in addition to this program?
Well, first of all, I've been up here every year talking about the need to increase the pace and scale of restoration to be able to maintain and restore our nation's forests. So there's no question we need to do that part. And there's also, I want to work with you to find ways to also provide some certainty, for counties. There's always going to be fluctuation in markets. There's always going to be fluctuations in the amount of revenue it's generated on any year. That's very challenging for counties to be able to budget that way. So we need to first continue our work to be able to increase, managing our national forests. But at the same time, want to work with you to find a solution and provide some certainty for the counties.
Thank you, Chief.